All right, guys, today we're going to show you step by step how to read architectural drawings. Okay, we're getting a lot of feedback from you subscribers on how to do so. We're going to teach you the basics. We're going to teach you how to do this in less than 10 minutes, so it'll be fun. All right, so we're getting a lot of interest on how to read plans. All right, so there's a lot of complicated aspects to reading architectural plans. We're going to really try to make this as simple as possible in order for everybody to understand it. And kind of go over the key points in making sure that everybody understands how to read and implement a set of drawings. So first page is usually what we call the title sheet. So all the information you're going to find on these respective pages, or what the pages are is located at typically the bottom right corner. Okay, so that's usually where you start. All right, so in this case it's title sheet, and then this is the page number. That's the important thing. As you look up on the top section here, we've got a sheet index. Okay, so basically whatever's bundled in this set of drawings is going to be identified with a page number right here. So a lot of times it's easy to, if you're looking for a specific page, you try to find exactly what page you're looking for, and then you find the bottom, and then you just kind of, as you can see, each page has a number and a definition, and that's how we find our page. So sheet index, very, very important, okay? Basic building information is usually located right here. We blurred all this out for you guys, for privacy, but usually you're gonna have your homeowner's name, the architect, or whoever designed the project, just basic notes, okay? As we move across the page here, we've got project information, which again, just is more information as it relates to the who's in charge of designing, who's the owner, any other specialty governing codes which are applicable for this type of build. You've got your construction type, your occupancy type, and so just like I said, all the way down, just got a lot of more information, okay? The last half of the page is more of a legend, okay? And this is identifying throughout the plans what the abbreviations are. A lot of times what architects and designers will do is they'll use abbreviations to identify. So in the event that we don't know, or you're unclear what they're trying to tell you, you can always refer back to this legend here and find out. For example, this is a very common one, UNO. You'll find that throughout a lot of drawings. It typically means unless noted otherwise, right? Or VIF, you'll find that in the drawings. It means verify in field, okay? So similar to that, we've got abbreviations, we've got drawing symbol legend. So basically, we're gonna find lots of different designs on the plans and indications. This is basically to support us if we have questions as far as what they are. All right, what they mean. All right, so as you can see, just move to the next page. Now every set of drawings may be a little bit different, okay? We're talking about architectural plans in this case. The next page in here is called a site survey. Okay, this is a requirement for us to determine basically property and elevation heights, okay? So this is usually performed by a separate group. Group will come out and they'll actually take elevation heights and create what we call a topographic map, okay? This is very important for establishing building heights, okay, and making sure that everything we're doing as it relates to the existing building and new are complying. So for example, we'll just take this mark right here. It says 106.33 FF. FF is an acronym or abbreviation for finished floor, okay? So it's basically telling us that 106 feet 0.33 above sea level is usually where we determine our elevations. That is that point, okay? And the rest of the property is kind of identified there. So again, legend. So if there's a question on, what the FF stands for example, FF right there, finished floor. So if we didn't know what FF meant, we would just go there. So example here is 10573 TS. We don't know what that means. We just go over and we find what TS means. And it is right here, and it means top step, all right? Another important thing to note on all plans is usually there's a compass or an identification on which direction we're facing, okay? So we can kind of like get our bearings. In this case, north is facing that way, okay? So we have an idea of exactly how the building is situated as it relates to north, south, east, west. So that site survey. Next plan is a site plan. It's basically more information as it relates to the property itself. Again, some plans won't have these. Key important things that we want to focus on here is property lines. Okay, so we've got our property line identified here. And then we've got obviously some legends and marks that we want to follow up. So for example, if we want to go A14, we can follow that up here to our keynotes, right? Which is again, abbreviations, and it's an identification. So A14 represents new trellis at main level deck, coordinate with owner. All right, so it's additional support. So as we go around, you just want to pay attention to all these different pieces of information. This is our site plan, okay? General notes, site plan notes will be up on, usually somewhere. And again, assistance on identification. In this case, the parcel map has been uploaded and added to the drawing, okay? So we can get an idea of how the lot is shaped, how the other lots around it are affected, et cetera, et cetera. So that's your site plan. This is not common, but in some plans nowadays, we've got 3D existing views, okay? So again, just taking a look at our notes. So these examples are identified down below. So it's a simple set of piece of information. We've got west aerial existing. This is existing. North aerial existing, so that's a different shot. And then we've got entry existing, again, a different angle, and then rear deck existing. All right, so just additional information. Again, notified down here what it is, and then the sheet number. Next page, we've got proposed. So we have existing, now we have proposed. So how the building's going to look, okay? So east, north, so same setup, front and rear. So this is proposed, what it's going to look like. And again, it's identified down here. All right, this is an important page, guys. Sometimes these note pages are 2 to 3 pages long. In this case, it's 1. They were able to get it on 1, but basically it's conditions that are required that are standard throughout. Okay, so a lot of times the architect's going to put just general notes that are going to be and need to be maintained throughout the duration of the project, or it's just a general oversight and all-encompassing for what the project requirements are. So, it's very important to read these notes, because if it's on the set of plans and you're working off of a set of plans, it's assumed that the builder or whoever's using them has read these and is implementing these, okay? So general notes, you want to take time to make sure you run through and read all these. It gets more specific, the builder, general contractor notes. We go down to, in this case, we're in California, so we've got California green building codes. We've got to follow all these. Mechanical and plumbing notes. And we've got some electrical notes with additional information, and then some BMPs as far as like site maintenance, etc. So title of this page is notes. So next page here, guys, as you can see, this is our grading plan, or we start the grading plan set phase. Okay, so in this case, there is a grading plan. Grading plans are a specific set of drawings that ensure that if we're removing dirt or earth, that we not only account for special requirements, but it's specifics on how to do so. Okay, so lots and lots of information, as you can see, but this is grading. GD stands for grading. Okay, lots of notes. You're going to want to read through all these, and again, this might not apply to every set of drawings, but in this case, it is. Talks about water quality notes, environmental notes, notice to contractor, so forth and so on. So you just want to make sure you're reading all these, and again, if it's on the plans and it's approved by the county or the city, that we want to make sure we're following these guidelines. Okay, so grading plan, we're starting as we turn to the next page. This grading plan is just a continuation. Grading plans are tricky. They take a lot of time. We could probably do a whole segment just on grading plans, but for all intents and purposes, the specifics that we want to concentrate with here are keeping track of our abbreviations. Okay, so there it is again. So we've got lots of information as it relates to finished grade, dirt existing, and how the project is going to finish when it's all done. Okay, so again, if we don't understand something or there's abbreviations, we want to go back to our legend and make sure we understand it and ensure that we're making that connection. One thing to pay attention to as it relates to architectural plans is you can see that there's a line running all the way through this set of drawings here. Okay, and basically this marker indicates what we call a cross section. Okay, so GD3. Okay, so if we were to 2 on GD3, if we were able to find that page, so GD3, for example, this is GD2, GD3. So we found page GD3 and then subnote on it number 2. So we want to find number 2 on GD3. GD3 is the page, and we want to find note number 2. So this is section 2. So basically what this is indicating here as we go back real quick is we've got, and don't be too concerned about the information on the page, as is just the reference on what this is basically telling us. This line, this dashed line that runs all the way through the building is basically identifying that there is a section, a cross section that's going to show us a different angle, okay? That as if we were looking down right at that line. So 2 on GD3, which is the next page over, that's what this section, that line represents. That if we were to turn the building up on its side, that's what we're looking at, okay? So it's basically a dissection of the building right down the middle. If we were to turn the building up and flip it from where it's at right now and turn it to an elevation, okay? This is what we would see, okay? So it's situations like that. What we want to pay attention to is in a situation like this where you've got a subsection or you've got a detailed note where it says, for example, 2 on GD5 in this case, and then there's a TYP next to it, okay? TYP means typical. So anytime we have you would have a condition like this, this would be the note that you would want to follow. So very similarly, GD5. All right, we're just going to go to page GD5, which is right there, and we want to look at subnote number 2. So here's subnote number 2, okay? And basically it's giving us information that applies to a condition such as this, okay? So it's basically just taking information and finding out more. So the architect and the designer is trying to give us information and talk to us with additional support, okay? We got GD3, which is the next page in the segment, okay? I don't want to get too concerned about grading because like I said, we could do a whole segment just on grading as we could with structural, but for example, just for example purposes, again, cross sections. Important thing that we want to pay attention to here is anytime you have a situation where it's a full set of drawings and you've got what the architect's recommended is a scale, he's basically saying that 1 inch on this page equals 8 feet, horizontal and vertical. So what I like to do is, a lot of times we have architectural rulers here, okay? These rulers are cool because they have lots of different options as far as like, converting. So in this case, we wanted to do 3/32 all the way up to 3/16. We could use that as an option. So 1/8 to a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch means, in this case, the scale is 1/8 of an inch to 1 equals 1 foot. So every time we have 1/8 of an inch, which is indicated here on our architectural ruler, equals 1 foot. So for example, if we were to use this, you can zoom in here, every 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So we would just follow this line all the way down to the very end, and we could determine by doing simple math that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whether it be 15/8 equals 15 feet. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the way we want to pay attention. We want to use a scale ruler. Anytime we're reading or working on plans, it's always a good idea to use these. We could do a whole video just on an architectural ruler, but that's something I want to pay attention to, scale. So the designer's telling us that every time we have 1 inch, it equals 8 feet in the field. All right, next page here, somewhat redundant, but we've got grading plan, another grading plan. A lot of acronyms and abbreviations. We'll kind of sort through this. We start to get into details now, okay, as we already talked about, and we'll slowly start to transition out of grading. Not all projects and not all plans will have that. but in the event that you do, you just want to be familiar with it. Staging plan, this is again, not always in projects, but you've got your main thoroughfare as far as road here, road access. This is basically talking about where during the build process we're allowed to store materials, okay? So it's indicating that we can store stuff here. We want to make sure that there's a trash dumpster. We want to follow all these rules that have been approved by the county or the city. So, okay, and again, if in doubt or when there's questions about, you know, what something means, just look for your legends, okay? Basement level existing demolition. So now we're getting into demolition, okay? So this page here is demolition, okay, which is very, very important. So we've got an existing and demolition floor plan. Key here is usually what our architects are gonna do is they're gonna create a wall phase legend, or a legend that indicates what these wall colors and hash marks mean, okay? In this case, you know, for example, we want to, anytime we see this condition on the plans itself, this wall is going to be demolished, okay? So we want to find those walls. So if we were marking this up, right, and we were determining and trying to figure out what walls remain and what walls go, this wall is a new wall, okay? You can see this is a brand new wall, and there was a wall here that goes away, okay? So anytime you have a dash mark like that, it means demo out. All right, we'll get a better example of it on the next page. Demolition floor plan. You can see very clearly here, these walls are to be demoed out. So anytime we have a hash mark here, existing wall to be demoed, we demo it out. What I like to do a lot of times is, you know, specifically as it relates to demolition, is I'll go through and highlight these with a highlighter to determine exactly and not get confused with what gets demoed out. These dark gray walls indicate they're to remain, all right? So we don't want to take those out. So anything that's dark gray, we're going to keep those exactly how they are. So as you can tell here, there was an existing bathroom. We're changing that wall. This den, this existing den, as it's called, this whole section here gets demoed out and gets reworked. These doors get demoed out, okay? On the outside deck, you can see all this deck system right here is all hashed and indicates to be demoed. So there was a deck here, gets demoed out. So next page, again, more demo. This is the next level up, but again, just pay attention to demolition. So all this comes out, just follow the indications, okay? Any questions on it or what something means? Again, this is further information. So D31, we just follow our notes up here and we find out what D31 is telling us. And more specifically, it's saying demo, existing deck, surface, so forth and so on, railing. So again, just when there's a question, just look for it on that page. Typically it's there. If you can't find it, it'll probably be somewhere else on the drawing. So you just want to take your time and pay attention. So roof framing demo, okay? More demo. It's basically telling us this section's to remain, this section's to be demoed. Just follow the legend. All right, now we get to proposed floor plans. Okay, so this is basically what the architect, the designer is trying to tell us is what the new building is going to look like, okay? So we're gonna skip past this page because it's a little complicated, but basically we wanna pay attention to what this is saying, proposed floor plan. Proposed means what is going to be implemented or what we want this to look like, okay? So as you can see, we're on now lower level proposed floor plan, okay? And this indicates what the new walls are gonna look like. So remember we talked about there was a bathroom here, there was a den here, and we talked about removing all those walls. Well, now you can see what the architect wants us to do. He wants us to open up this space. We demoed out this door that was here. We're framing a new door. We're adding some walls. And again, when in question, just follow back to the legend, which is gonna give us information, okay? So we can kind of keep it simple as possible. Just take your time and follow the notes. These indications here on the proposed floor plan, as you can see, like 202.1, that indicates a door call out. Okay, so as you can see, it's right next to the door. We've got another one right next to that door. Okay, we've got another one right next to this door. Okay, so 204.1, when you're trying to do your door takeoffs or you're trying to figure out, you know, how big and how much to order our doors, there's a door and window legend, which we'll get to a page, and we just cross-check and make sure that we're following whatever the legend is telling us is going to be installed on that plan, okay? Or on that section. So lower level proposed floor plan, again, just follow the notes. And the other thing that we want to talk about here is any new walls or any walls that we want to add. You know, typically what the architect is going to do is we've got our scale down here, okay? If you use our whatever arbitrary tool you want, if you want to use the 3/16 mark, 3/16 up to basically 4 means 4 feet. So anytime you're measuring or laying out, we want to follow that simple addition to be able to determine, you know, wall layout and spacing. Architect's going to give you dimensions typically, okay? So he's going to say that this window, for example, this new window is going to go in the center between the closet door and this wall. And he's saying that by, he's saying 6'4", 6'4", and then he's indicating with a center line that this window, this new window that we're putting in, goes centered between these 2 points. Okay, so it's just information like that we want to pay attention to. Next page, main level. Okay, so a lot of information here, but if we just really simplify it down to each space, okay, we'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so let's just take the laundry room, for example. He's indicating that there's a new wall running right through here, okay? So we've got over here, you can see in our legend, this is a new wall, okay? Any situations like this indicate new. So all these walls right here that are open, not shaded, those are new walls. We're framing new walls. So to get these dimensions, you can use your scale, okay, with a ruler, or you can, a lot of times the architect is going to be able to provide you how long that dimension, or how long that wall is going to be. What I like to do is, you know, find an existing condition and then follow the architect's dimensions, okay? In this case, he's making sure that this measurement starts in line with the inside of the wall. So you can see he's got a mark here. But that measurement doesn't start on the outside of the wall, it starts on the, if you line it up, it starts on the inside of the wall, okay? So if you pay attention to these details here, if you were to start that measurement over on the other side of the wall, it would throw your measurements off by the time you got to the other side. So you just want to make sure we're paying attention to where the architect is telling, we're starting our dimension pulls, okay? And then when we get to the end, we want to make sure that the math is close, okay? Or it should be exact. If it's not, if it's dramatically off, you would want to go back and triple check. So again, just kind of simplify each space. You know, each space is coded with a number, okay? Lots of information here. This 374, that's a window indication, okay? So you can see it's a different type of look there. That's 374. Over here on this side, 354, that's a window. This is a big door. This is indicating the door. Another door here, fixed window, okay, or window. So we just want to make sure you familiarize yourself with all this information. But the key with reading plans, guys, is making sure that you take each area and kind of find out more information, okay? So the architect's painting a picture. He's trying to tell us information. We just need to familiarize ourselves with all these different acronyms and all these different abbreviations. Roof plan, guys, you can see it's just a lot more information. Again, follow the abbreviations. It's somewhat redundant as the other pages, but basically it's talking about how we're going to frame the roof. This number here is important. This is the architect's telling us that ridge, at the very top of the ridge there, is not allowed to be more than that number, okay? So a lot of building and county code requirements don't allow building height to go higher than a certain elevation. And so when we're building and framing, you know, buildings and houses, we want to make sure that we're very much paying attention to this. So if we're doing measurements along the way and we find out that we're going to be higher than this, we want to make sure we address it before we install all of our roofing compositions. So again, more abbreviations. Key component here is making sure that we identify and stay in line with those ridge heights. Here we go with more elevations. Okay, so similarly, we're just looking at cross sections here. So we've got an existing, and then we've got proposed. So this is basically the same area of the house. This is what it looks like now. This is what it looks like after. Okay, so again, additional information. So that's now we're heading into what we call our elevation pages. Okay, elevations are different than floor plans. Floor plans are what we were just looking at, where we can see the house kind of laying down on it, flat, and we took the roof off, and now we're looking at all the spaces. Those are floor plans. Okay? Elevations, for example, are basically looking at the building on its side. So if we were able to walk around the building and look at it on its side, this is what it's supposed to look like. All right? So again, lots of information. We'll just take this example right here, FO5. What does that mean? Okay, we just follow that up to this legend and keynote, and we've got F is finish 05 ultra smooth stucco. So that's what the architect's telling us. He wants us to put ultra smooth stucco right here. Okay, so again, lots of information. Follow it this way. These are our cross sections. Okay, so with the elevations comes, just like we had on the floor plans, we had lines running through the building. If we follow and take a look at this 2 on A 4.03, this line right here, we open up that section, it's going to show us what is inside directly, this line from this side of the building all the way to the other. So on 2A 403, 402, 403, we want to find section 2, which is this. This is that section as if we were looking at it all the way through. Okay, so it basically takes a snapshot of the building where it sits, and it gives you more information, so you can kind of get an elevation of exactly how that's going to work. So if we were to kind of pivot the building around and look at it on its side, from one side of the building all the way to the other, that's what we would see. That's what we want the building to look like when we're all done. All right, so that's what the architect's trying to tell us. So just paying attention to all that stuff. So we've got existing elevations. We're still on elevations. We've got existing, what it's supposed to look like. Existing, what it's supposed to look like. Again, cross sections, tons of them, right? That's good for us because we want to triple check and make sure we're, if we have questions on how something is supposed to develop, we follow these cross sections, okay? And again, all of our notes. As you can see here, we've got our cross sections now, which are referenced back to our elevations. Basically looking at the building, if we were to take a part of the building and cut it down the middle and open it up, this is what cross sections are, or sections, okay? So we're basically dissecting the building and being able to open it up and take a look at what's inside. These are important as far as like if there's a question regarding what type of finish material, how the stairs are gonna line up, there could be a number of different reasons why we want to look at cross sections, but more importantly, there's lots of them. Sections, cross sections, and then we get to a point where we're talking about interior elevations. This is not typical on a lot of drawings, but it's kind of more design related. But again, indication down here for interior elevations. This is what the kitchen's going to look like. Okay, the stairwell is going to look like on the top level. More elevations for individual spaces. So really simply just follow the directions. Master bath west. Okay, we've got the shower north, master bath. So it's basically just painting a holistic picture of what the space is going to look like. Okay, so as we continue on, these are again just interior elevations as it relates to design specifically. Okay, so most important thing is just identifying the space, what it is we're looking at. All right. Now we go into details, which is the next page down the line here. And again, additional information. So if it's on the plans, we want to follow it. So we just want to make sure we're familiarizing ourselves with this. So in this case, this detail here is talking about typical floor, wall, and eave roof detail. So no matter what happens around the house, this is typical. So we want to make sure we follow all these individual layers. So it's very clear what the architect's saying. He wants insulation in the floor. He wants insulation on the exterior wall. He wants to put stucco right here with galvanized corrosion resistant weep screed. He's got an identification of slope, so just follow all the details. Finally, we made it to our door and window schedule. So as you can see here, guys, our window schedule is identified here very simply. Talks about your width, your height, okay? Any other specific notes that you have to pay attention to. But this is where, earlier in the floor plan pages, where these numbers are going to be found. Okay, so door and window schedule, door schedule. So this does interior doors as well as exterior doors. Again, it talks about all of your heights and your widths. We want to really pay attention to this when ordering and making sure we're framing for certain openings, all right? And that's pretty much it, guys. So hope you liked the video. Let us know how we can better assist you guys moving forward. We got a lot of people talking about how to read blueprints very, very easily. This is the best way to do so. So hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and let's catch you on the next one.